Joining me now here in studio, Congressman Ted Lieu, a member of the House Judiciary Committee, and a local guy. Thank you for joining me here in California. Appreciate it, sir. I want to get right to your reaction from the former Intel chiefs. We have James Clapper, John Brennan as well, saying that President Trump's posture on Russia poses a threat to national security. Is that an overstatement? Is it something you agree with? And if so, how?
I agree. Let me tell you what happened. Donald Trump, on Veterans Day, went on foreign soil and insulted the U.S. intelligence community. He chose to take the word of a former KGB colonel, Vladimir Putin, over our patriotic intelligence officials. And that was so over the top that by the end of the day, Donald Trump backtracked. And now he says he believes our intelligence community. Good, but he never sure said what he said in the first place.
Yeah. Tuesday, we have Jeff Sessions coming to testify in front of your committee, or at least speak with you. Is this an on-the-record? I mean, is this going to be in public? Is it behind closed doors? What's the status of this, and what do you want to ask him?
It'll be in public. He'll be under oath. I would like the Attorney General to come clean and apologize to the American people. He has already lied at least twice under oath to Congress and to the American people. He said that he did not have any communications with Russian officials. Wrong. He had at least 3, according to reporting by the press. He also said that he was not aware of any Trump campaign officials that had contacts with the Russians. Again, that was wrong based on a plea agreement of George Papadopoulos and Carter Page's testimony. So he's lying.
Lying, or in his words, he has forgotten. How do you go about trying to prove a cognizant lie versus someone who says, I have a forgetful memory?
So you can either believe there were 798 coincidences last year, or you can believe something really bad happened. And in this case, you don't forget about 3 meetings with the Russian ambassador. I'm also on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. We do have meetings with diplomats, but you wouldn't forget a meeting with an ambassador of another country, and certainly not the Russian ambassador, who everyone knows in D.C. is also a spy. In addition, George Papadopoulos was sitting at the table between Jeff Sessions and Donald Trump. And the Trump campaign is now saying, oh, here's a low-level staffer. I run lots of campaigns. Low-level staffers stand at the side of the room. They don't sit at the table. And he was communicating with Jeff Sessions. You don't forget that either.
A couple things I want to ask you about. When you say that the Russian ambassador to the United States is a spy, what do you mean by that specifically? Is he someone who just brings back information? Is that technically a spy, or is there something more to it?
He's also known as a chief spy recruiter. He recruits people to go to the Russian side. It's not really disputed. And then again, with the testimony of George Papadopoulos as well as Carter Page, they were assigned by the Trump campaign to work under Jeff Sessions. They had contacts with Russia. They told Jeff Sessions, and they're directly contradicting what Jeff Sessions said under oath.
Okay. And I know you want him to apologize to the American public, but do you have a question? Is there something that you want to press him on?
Yes, I'd like to know if he was lying then or if he's lying now, because Jeff Sessions is going to be in trouble on Tuesday, because either he confirms he was lying before Congress then, or he has to have a different story, and we'll see what he says.
Okay. I know that Democrats have written to him saying the facts appear to contradict your sworn testimony on several occasions. In general, I mean, this is the nation's highest lawman. Overall, just him being in this position, how concerning is that to you? So
what's deeply disturbing is the nature of the crime. It's not as if he was caught jaywalking. He was caught lying to Congress in order to get confirmed. Not only did he violate their federal perjury statute, Congress actually wrote a whole separate statute just to criminalize people who lie to Congress from the administration. Because of the separation of powers, we can't have that happen.
Okay. Switching gears a bit, I want to get your reaction to a tweet that was put out by David Axelrod. He is pretty much slamming Tom Steyer and his attempts at impeachment of the president, at least getting support for that. He's calling it a vanity project. He says it's more that than a call to action. And he adds that if impeachment becomes a political tool, it will be as damaging to our democracy as the degradations Donald Trump has inflicted on it. What is your reaction to that?
So I sit on the Judiciary Committee. It's where impeachment proceedings would start. My view is you have to let the special counsel's investigation take its course. It could be very easy for us if Paul Manafort or Michael Flynn turns state's witness and says, yeah, Donald Trump knew about collusion and wanted it to happen, then impeachment begins. If it doesn't happen that way, then it might be a little more difficult. But I think we need to have the facts come out, and then we should decide what to do.
Okay. Foreign policy-wise, I know that you released a letter, and it was from a former deputy commander of U.S. forces in Korea, of his assessment on war with North Korea, warning about possible ramifications. What are some of the most important aspects of this letter you want to share?
So when I served on active duty, I was under U.S. Pacific Air Forces at Andrews Air Force Base in Guam. We did a whole series of different military exercises, much of it directed against North Korea, and there are exactly zero good military options. And this letter from the former deputy commander of U.S. forces in Korea verifies that. And he basically says, first of all, we're vastly outnumbered. We've got 28,500 U.S. troops. North Korea has 1.2 million. South Korea has maybe 500,000. So you're going to have all these North Korean soldiers rushing down to South Korea. North Korea has nuclear weapons, chemical weapons, biological weapons. A lot of people are dying. Estimates are up to 2.1 million dead, 7.7 million injured, including hundreds of thousands of Americans.
We know that North Korea has been at the top of the president's. He's been making his way through these 5 Asian countries. How would you rate him on his foreign policy and that which he's expressed on the North Korea front?
I don't blame the Trump administration for the North Korea problem. It's been a problem over decades among both Democratic and Republican administrations. I do blame them for not having a strategy. You see Donald Trump flip-flop from using provocative words like fire and fury to now saying he would like to be friends with a North Korean leader. It is very confusing, both to world leaders as well as to the American public. They need to get on one page and execute a strategy to contain North Korea. But
when he points to the past administrations and says they didn't have strategies, they've sort of passed the buck and let this just, flounder, is he right?
Well, they're facing the same problem that he's looking at right now, which is, again, there's no good military options against North Korea. So do you start a war where millions of people could die, including hundreds of thousands of Americans in Japan, Guam, and South Korea? Or do you try to do other options? And my view is you've got to use diplomacy. You have to let economic sanctions take its course. And I also believe we need to invest in missile defense. So there are other options we can engage in before looking at the dark and bloody path of war.
Okay, Congressman Ted Lieu, thank you for joining me here.